Are you ready to take action to attain the lifestyle of your dreams?
It's a great way to make a lot of money fast.
The Clever Investor Show.
Hey, welcome back to the Clever Investor Show. I'm your lucky host, Cody Sperber, the original Clever Investor. And today I got one of my heroes, my idols, my mentors, somebody that actually got me into the real estate game, believe it or not, and probably tens of millions of others. He is the author of the #1 best-selling financial literacy book of all times. Over 41 million copies sold, translated into over 51 different languages. We got Mr. Robert Kiyosaki on the show.
I'm impressed, honored, and thank you.
Yes, I'm honored to have you on here. You know, you've changed my life.
Well, I'll tell you what, you telling me your structure on your building here, I'm going, man, that's sophisticated stuff you're doing.
Yeah, you know, I bought this building last year for the tax benefits.
Right.
Because I read your book, because I read this book. This book changed so many people's lives because for the first time in my life, I had never heard of assets and liabilities. I think this is probably single-handedly responsible for getting more people into real estate than any other book out there.
Right.
And you've authored well over 27 books. You're not even sleeping right now. You're still writing books.
Well, because the world keeps changing, and I keep writing, to keep up with that change.
Yeah, and I read your last book, The Capitalist Manifesto.
Right.
Yep, that's here too. Loved that. Great book. I want to talk about that and open that up because look, I wanted you on the show. The economy's a hot mess. You've probably been one of the most outspoken advocates for trying to get us back on track. At least in some, trying to educate people.
I think it's to protect yourself from what's coming. That's the thing. It's, I just cannot believe this guy Biden. I mean, he's a criminal. He's a criminal. What his very first act, the very first day, was to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline. And I'm in the oil business also. So I was selling, I don't own no stocks. I don't like paper. I like tangibles. So the day he took the pipeline, he canceled it, and some executive, this is his first day, his first move. I knew what he was up to immediately. So, because my business is oil, and I went to school for oil. I drove tankers for Standard Oil. And so I understand the oil business, and oil is the lifeblood of civilization. So the moment he cut that pipeline, I'm selling oil at $30 a barrel. The next day was $130 a barrel. So the good news is I'm getting extremely rich, but he's crushing the middle class. And by crushing the middle class, we come to a two-class society, rich and poor. And that's the basis of revolution. I know what he's up to. He's going to crush this country. That SOB, and pisses me off.
This gap between rich and poor is really sad because there's a lot of people that have, like myself, who've already made a significant amount of gains. I made a lot of wealth. I own a lot of real estate. I've focused a lot of my time for the last 18 years building this financial wall around me. I'm lucky. There's a lot of people that have made it. The ones that haven't, it's getting harder and harder for them to ever catch up. What would you say to somebody who is maybe just getting started? Is there hope for them?
Of course, when something goes up, something goes down, something comes up, and all this. But let me stay on this guy Biden. I'm not. Trump is my friend. He and I have written 2 books together. And you get to know a guy fairly well after 2 books, and he's a great man. I know people hate him, and he says things he shouldn't say. But what Jordan Peterson said, you think tough men are dangerous? See the damage a weak man can do? So how do you protect yourself now? That's really the thing. And I wrote this book here too. It's called Who Stole My Pension? And the moment inflation goes up, he raises interest rates, raises inflation, the stock market comes down. So the bad, let's talk, we'll talk about bad news. We have a 3 times crash coming up. And the 3 times crash is we have stocks and bonds as one class. Real estate's coming down. So the homeowner who is not, whose house they bought for, let's say, $1 million, is probably going to come down. So it's stocks and bonds, real estate. But what else is coming down is this. They're going to print so much of this, they're going to destroy the dollar. So that's why it's called the 3 times, because people hear this. If you're aware of this, you can decide what you're going to do. I've already decided a long time ago, years ago I decided. But this is trash right now.
So Robert's holding up a $1 bill right now for everybody just listening to this. The currency crash that's coming because they're overprinting.
Well, it's more than that, is that you've heard of the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The second thing that Biden did was he withdrew from Afghanistan. The moment he did that, it's not what he says, it's what he's doing. He withdrew from Afghanistan, screwed everybody, left billions of dollars behind for the enemy to use against us. And I'm going, holy mackerel. And that day, Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS, joined Russia. Saudi Arabia was our main guys keeping this strong. You see, this is the petrodollar. And what happened in 1974, when I was getting out of the Marine Corps, Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia and said, you will sell your oil in dollars. So as long as the world had to trade in dollars, then the dollar was strong. So by taking us out, second act, taking us out of Afghanistan, at that moment, Saudi Arabia said adios and joined Russia. So today, the BRICS is now Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia. And then you have the Chinese who hate us also, and they're starting the Belt and Road Project. They've already introduced the Chinese yuan, gold back, it's the crypto. And China's planning to do, the BRICS are going to do is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, is 60% of the world's population will dump this. And that's why I say the 3 times crash, number one is going to be stocks and bonds, because interest rates go up. It's going to wipe out these guys, my generation, who have 401ks, the worst thing you can ever do. It's just terrible what they're doing. And then the second is real estate. So the homeowner, my generation, they bought their home and they say they bought it at $1 million, and they're upside down in the debt to equity structure and financing. And the third is this thing. So that's why, I was asking you permission. Can I tell you what I know? Because this is what I know.
So we have this financial crisis. It's looming. What are things that you're thinking about? Because with every downside, there's an upside. It's like the way I think about it, it's a zero-sum economy. Money never leaves the ecosystem. It just moves and changes hands. So where's the power going? Where's the money going?
Well, let me explain, because I'm a lot older than you. This here is a 1964 silver dollar. It's real silver. What happened in 1964, I think it was Johnson, one of those guys, he took the silver out of this coin. So this silver dollar today is worth $10. And I tell the story of going into Safeway at the salad bar, and these women were asking me the same question, what should I invest in? And I said, well, give me $10 for this. They go, it's a $50. Why would I give you $10 for this? I said, because this could be the best investment of all. I've been collecting silver since I was 17 years old. I own silver mines and I own gold mines. So when the dollar goes down, gold and silver go up.
How do you end up owning a mine?
What's that?
How do you end up owning like a silver mine or a gold mine?
Look, I'm a student. I've taken, I took my first gold mine I took public was out of China, Dalian, China. And I took it public on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And so we put about 27 million into it, and we struck gold. And I think so for about a year, I was a billionaire. We had so much gold in this mine. And the reason, you can't trust the Chinese. I'm Japanese, not Chinese. I'm not being a racist, but they took my mine. They nationalized my mine. So there's a thing in my world called country risk. So there's certain countries you can trust and certain countries you can't trust. And right now, you look at Biden, his son, Hunter, he was doing business with China, Russia, and Ukraine. Where are we at war right now? And my biggest concern is this Ukraine-Russia war will go to a world war. And I fought in Vietnam twice, and I don't like what I see happening. So I'm a little pessimistic. But when I talk to those women at the Safeway lunch counter, because they could all afford a silver dollar, they can all afford this thing, and they said they want to hold on to this. You know what I'm saying? They cannot change their mindset. That's the problem.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that they understand. They don't understand.
They love this stuff. They work for this. They save this, And when I said to them, give me $10 for this, they went nuts.
Yeah, because they don't understand what to do with it.
No, they don't understand value. It's like real estate, I own a lot of real estate, lots of real estate, but I understand you have to understand the value before you buy it, right? What you've done here, the tax advantages, all that stuff, you've already wiped out your taxes before, because that's why I love real estate. I don't touch stocks and bonds, but that's going to crash now. And my generation, the boomer generation, is the first generation that's 100% in the stock market. They own, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, they have 401ks, IRAs. And that's why I wrote this book in 2020. I said, you can get wiped out. And the reason I know that is because, I was a pilot for the Marine Corps. And when we got out, my classmates became pilots for like United Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, and all that. And what they did was they took their pensions. They took their pensions. And nobody says anything about it. You don't read the news, you hear about the Kardashians or something, but you don't hear about how they're stealing our wealth. So my friends who are my age now don't have pensions because they took the pension from the pilots.
This is why I love real estate.
Yeah, well, you control it.
I feel more control.
That's correct. You see, that's financial education. You control the asset. I don't trust stocks, bonds, and mutual funds because even Warren Buffett said he doesn't trust the CEOs. They lie. Just recently he said they're lying. They're lying on the debt structures and all this.
Well, you look at Wall Street, you look at that whole structure, they get paid to steal to commit crimes. They get paid in massive bonuses after they steal trillions of dollars. It's pretty insane what they're able to get away with never going to jail, never getting in trouble.
And this thing here is real silver. It's a silver buffalo. It's 99% pure or something like this. They just fined, I think it was J.P. Morgan, $92 million for manipulating the price. Nobody says anything. They manipulated the price. Do they care? 92 million is a drop in the bucket when they're making billions playing games with the price. So that's why I agree 100% with you. I like real estate because I control it. I like my business because I control it. I get the tax breaks. I do the debt structures. I'm a control freak. As a pilot, I don't want to ride in the back of the plane. I want to drive the plane. So that's what you're doing, and that's what you're teaching all your listeners.
Yeah.
But the problem is this time it's gotten worse. And so that's what I'm saying. I keep saying to people, this costs about $35. And when I was younger, this was $50. So this is the most underpriced thing. And now with the EVs, solar systems, panels, and all this, this I estimate is probably going to $100. So when I was talking to those women at Safeway, the salad bars, said, give me $10 for this. They'd rather have this.
So let's kind of step back a little bit. Can you explain how the fractional reserve system, taxes and inflation, screw over the little guy?
Well, those are pretty sophisticated subjects, man. So the fractional reserve system is called hypothecation. Hypothecation means, could you imagine if you could sell this building 10 times?
I mean, how wonderful would that be?
Yeah, that's hypothecation. Yeah. So you're selling a building you don't own. So the fractional reserve system is they're selling something they don't own. The same as the silver market, they can sell. I mean, this is the COMEX, the Wall Street of silver. They can sell, I think, for 42 times more silver than they have. So the fractional reserve system is, so you go to the bank and you put $10 in, they'll lend out 100. That's a fractional reserve of 10. So this whole system is built, and you call it leverage, but it's also hypothecation, which means there's nothing there.
Well, you feel it if you've ever tried to go to a bank and just take out $200,000. There's no money in the banks. They can't do it. I'll come back in a month and we'll order the money.
Oh, you mean the cash?
The cash, yeah. It doesn't exist. It's not like sitting in the bank, just hanging out there.
On top of that, you're tracked. Do you know what I mean? If you order that much money, I think the number is 10.
10,000?
Yeah, if you go over 10, your name's on the list. But when they go to the Fed coin, which is coming next year, because Biden just announced Executive Order EO 14067, the U.S. dollar is going to become crypto. And then they can track everything you do. Your privacy is gone. And we're screwed.
Social credit scores, all the stuff we kind of look at China and kind of go, oh, how could they? You think it's coming here?
It's already here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing my best to, I've been preparing all the time. I said this thing here, Rich Dad's Prophecy. This was 2013. And I said, the biggest crash in stock market history is still coming. It's here now. And so that's why it's called the 3 times crash. First, stocks and bonds, they're going to get wiped. Second, real estate. Third, cash is going to.
Yep.
This will purchase nothing.
Well, that's why I asked you about the fractional reserve system, because it's the basis of the beginning of that becoming valueless, coming off of the gold standard, going to a debt system. And then, you got taxes and inflation.
It's worse than that. When this goes down, the pensions for the boomers, who's going to bail them out? The Fed. They're going to print more. So we go to hyperinflation then. And this becomes trash. This is toilet
Which
paper.
Forces everybody over to this new Fed coin? Is that like the big plan? Like control the votes, control the power, force everybody into this new currency. You think that's what's happening?
It is happening, yes.
Mm.
And I'm, I own Bitcoin and all the other stuff, but yesterday I bought another 1,000 of these things.
The coins, silver coins?
And the reason for that is gold and silver are God's money. And I say it's God's money because God put it here. Like I said, I own silver mines and gold mines also. I took my gold mine public in July of last year on the New York Stock Exchange. So I'm making fortunes. It's just like my oil wells. When Biden took the Keystone XL pipeline off, I was selling oil at $30 a barrel, went to $130. I think today it's around $80. So what that means is when mom and pop average are standing at the gas pump, pumping, gas into their SUV, they're watching this ticker going around. I'm getting richer, they're getting poor, then they can't eat. So as I said, I think what Biden is up to is he's going to take it to two classes, rich or poor. So what you're doing with the clever investor, you want people to come over to the rich, but you've got to know what you're doing in real estate. In stocks, you can be a freaking idiot, just buy anything, it's okay. You're just gambling anyway because you have no control over it. What you're really teaching, I've watched your stuff, you're teaching control. But that takes time, money, effort, and education.
Yeah.
What you've done here, I was walking, I was going, holy mackerel, this guy went down the road farther than me. You're very sophisticated.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it started reading your book and then really like that light bulb going off, like kind of like, okay, I'm not even playing the money game. Like I got to get in the game because just earning income, I was just getting taxed now. And that's why I asked you about taxes and inflation, because it's like we're going backwards much faster than any raises or being able to move forward. So it's like, okay, how do I get in the game? And the first blueprint I ever even got exposed to was this concept of limit liabilities, own assets. So simple, right? But I had never heard it. Never in school, never from my dad, never from anybody. And I couldn't believe let me back up a little, give my dad some credit. He's the one who bought me this book. So, he was smart enough to go, hey, something's in here that you need to know. And I think I told you this when you spoke at Clever Summit. I threw that, I was in the Navy at the time when I first got this book. I threw it in my rack. I didn't touch it for months. I'm out in the Persian Gulf doing 5-knot circles, firing missiles, Tomahawk missiles into Iraq during Desert Fox. And I'm bored. And I pull this book out of my rack thinking, I'll skim through it. I read it cover to cover in one reading, took me 5-6 hours. I couldn't put it down.
Man, thank you.
It changed my life. And that's why I started this with, you have no idea the impact you probably do because people come up to you all the time, but the impact you made, I single-handedly believe that you created more real estate investors than anybody else in human history. And I just picked the ball up and said, you know what, real estate changed my life because of leverage, tax benefits. I can control it. I can put my hands around it. I can modify it quickly. So if I was a single family guy for a long time, I'm doing a lot more multifamily and Airbnbs and hotels and apartments and stuff. But
it's fun too, isn't it?
It's fun. It's a great business to be in. The people are amazing. It's challenging, but very rewarding. And it set me free. And so changed my life. So I was like, you know what? I got to share this with more people. So we're really just picking up the ball from where you took it and just continuing to run. And it's interesting now because now technology is changing the game pretty hardcore. Artificial intelligence coming out. What are your thoughts on some of this newer tech? Have you gone down the AI rabbit hole or?
No, I don't. That's why I just stay with gold and silver right now. Because I told you when I took my company, my gold mine in China public, and they took it from me. I said, I don't trust them. I don't trust my own government, number one. Because when I was in Vietnam, I realized our government lies to us big time. The fake news, I found that out in Vietnam. We'd be pounding the heck out of the North Vietnamese and all this. And then we'd watch it on this, Walter Cronkite evening news, and we'd be, the pilots would be going, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. So with the fake news, I knew a long time ago, and that's why, Trump calls it fake, and I wrote this book here, Fake.
It's literally called Fake.
Fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. The stocks are not assets. They're liabilities to me because you have no control over them. But you and I are control freaks. That's the difference. So it's not as easy as it looks, but control is better than being stupid,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when you were getting ready to read this or write this, were you just sitting there looking around thinking to yourself, how do people not understand this stuff? I got to get this out of my head and out into the world? Or did this happen by accident? What's the story behind writing this book?
No. I mean, it's like I said, this was 1964. 1964, I was 17 years old. And I was a caddy because my poor dad didn't give me any money. and I got some quarters. And in 1964, I said, some quarters were silver and some quarters were copper. I went, what's going on? That's Gresham's law. Gresham's law says bad money drives good money into hiding. But I said, I think they're playing games with me. So I was 17. And there it snowballed in because I said, I don't trust my own government by then. And the more I got into it, down the rabbit hole, as you say, I mean, it's not an accident. There's no financial education in schools. It's not an accident. See, at 17, I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy where I studied oil to drive oil tankers. And we had to read the Communist Manifesto. And that book's only 40.
What do you mean you had to read it?
Our economics teacher. My economics teacher was I was Kings Point. He went to West Point. There's 5 federal academies: West Point, Kings Point, Naval Academy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. So I got a congressional appointment from Senator Daniel K. Inouye from Hawaii, and he was a Medal of Honor winner during the World War II. And because after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, we were not appreciated. So my uncles on my father's side and my mother's side joined the 442nd Infantry Battalion, and they're today the highest decorated infantry battalion in U.S. history. They had something to prove. They wanted to prove they were patriots. So I had 5 uncles fight in Europe and 2 uncles fight against the Japanese. And, my relatives who lived in California were put in concentration camps. People don't know that. And they had everything taken. So when the blacks talk about reparations, well, what about the Japanese? Do you know what I mean? Our education system is sorely lacking. Taught by Marxists. So I read Communist Manifesto in 1965. I'm 18 years old, and I realized that most school teachers are Marxists. They believe in tax the rich. You know what Marx's number 1 rule was? Abolition of private property. And so that's why he's against us. And so my father always said we should tax the rich. My rich dad was my best friend's father. He owned a lot of property. He says, your friend's father is a crook. He exploits people. Because we rented. We didn't have any money. He's a school teacher. He's a professor. So I saw that in 1965. I'm coming home from school in New York, and I'm going, Jesus, our whole school system's Marxist. And it still is. And I don't know if you saw I was at Arizona State a couple of weeks ago. I taught Arizona State the Barrett Honors Program. I taught them what I knew all summer long. And so Barrett said, well, let's have a big program at Gamage, Arizona State. Mm-hmm. So we had my doctor, Gopalan, he's a doctor of acupuncture and a doctor of cardiac surgery, heart transplant guy. So he's East and West medicine. So he was health, I was wealth, and Dennis Prager of Prager University was happiness. Because, Prager taught me how to be happy. Being happy is very important. So it was called Health, Wealth, and Happiness. The students were all happy. The 37 professors came after us. Can you imagine that?
At ASU?
Yeah, it just happened. February 8th. They attacked us. They're trying to shut us down. Look, professors are frickin' communists, but they don't know it. They never read the Communist Manifesto. If they read that book, it's like people read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They're communists. Abolition of private property, number 1. Tax, a progressive income tax is essential for the spread of communism. And we're trying to dodge taxes, right? But they want us to get more tax. And the biggest one was Stalin, who said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the vote.
Yeah.
And look at, Carrie Lake is still fighting. She's running for governor, good friend of mine. And they still haven't counted the votes.
I feel like 2020 was that big power move
year
exactly. Where it just they finally got it. So many of our listeners reach out and they ask us how they can get involved in my actual real estate deals. Our investment firm specializes in finding deeply discounted properties, acquiring them, renovating, stabilizing both single family and multifamily properties all over the United States. That's why we're so excited to share with you clevercapitalfund.com. Now, if you have some investment capital and you want to deploy it and receive double-digit returns backed by real estate, then visit our website and see which fund is right for you. We have both equity funds and we have debt funds where you just get paid out every month like clockwork. All you got to do is visit www.clevercapitalfund.com today to learn more.
So that's why when I was at Gamage in Arizona State University, one of the largest colleges in America, I said to all the teachers, I held the Communist Manifesto, and I said, you should read this book, Commies, because I'm a U.S. Marine. I killed a lot of them. I should have come home. And I came home from Vietnam. I got spit on, hit with eggs.
Because you went to Vietnam?
Twice. I'm a U.S. Marine.
Yeah.
How many people I've killed? Any idea?
No, tell me.
We didn't kill enough of them, obviously. So I held on.
Do you ever, in all seriousness, I'm interested in this generally. Really interested in this. Like when you go to war and you have to do stuff like that, obviously it changes you. It changes you big time. Do you have PTSD around that? No?
I know guys who did.
Yeah.
But they did things that they shouldn't have done. I never did anything that was outside the limits of the rules of war, the rules of engagement. But some guys were asked to do things they shouldn't have done. Like, the thing about being a pilot, you don't see the death. You just see the destruction.
That's kind of how I felt when I was in the Navy and we would fire these missiles. They would just go over the horizon.
Boom.
I never knew what was happening on the other end of it. So you were saying a lot of the teachers are communists. I feel like successfully they've moved to socialism, like a mindset of socialism in the U.S.
Have you read Communist Manifesto?
Yeah.
You have?
No, I read parts of it. I haven't read the whole thing. It's kind of hard for me to read, to be honest with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
I flunked out of high school because I can't read and write.
Well, you wrote enough. You read
No,
wrote
it's
enough
not
books.
it's not that I couldn't read or write. The teacher didn't like what I was writing. The same thing here. This Rich Dad Poor Dad was turned down by every publisher. They on the rejection notice, I'd say, when it comes to money, you don't know what you're talking about. Because everything I said goes against what Wall Street wants them to learn.
So if you were in charge right now, magic wand, Robert Kiyosaki is in charge, what moves would you make?
I just talked to the average guy. I said, you can afford silver. I mean, this silver coin here is $30.
Well, I would tell him that too if I owned the silver mine.
That's not the reason I do it. I don't need any fucking money, man.
Okay.
Understand? I don't need the money because it's up here. But I just know what to buy. I don't ever sell. I've never sold a piece of real estate.
And you own a lot of real estate.
Lots. Because I use debt and pay no taxes. When people say, why do you use, REI, would you invest in REIT? No. But that's what people say, I own a lot of real estate. I own REITs. When they say I own silver, I own SLV. Those are all paper. Gold. This here is $2,000 today.
What are you holding up right now?
Yeah, gold.
A gold coin.
Yeah, and they say,
but is that a specific type of gold coin, or how much is that worth? Did you say?
Well, today it's about $2,400. It's $2,000 and then premium added onto it. But this. What was I going to say? When people say I own gold, but they own GLD, that's paper. That's fake gold. When they say I own SLV, that's an ETF, fake silver. That's like I ask you, would you own an REIT? No.
Nope.
But that's how stupid, hey, Code.
We're conditioned.
How stupid can a person be? They don't know what's real or fake. That's why I wrote this book here, Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. I mean, how many of the teachers knew what they were talking about?
That were teaching us?
You. None.
I mean, I felt from day one that there was a 0% chance. This is why I struggled in school. I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle in school, people that think outside the box. And one of my favorite questions to ask a potential new employee during an interview is, what web browser do you use? Do you use the one that comes with the computer, or do you download extra ones? And it gives me insight, Robert, into how they think about what is given to them versus the best options out there. Because if they say, oh, I download all of them and I pick the best one that's the best suited or has the most privacy or whatever, I go, you know what? That tells me a lot of how you think. You're not just being told, hey, this comes with the computer. This is what you use. And I like that question because it's insight. And so, when I thought about my teachers, I thought, God, these guys are all freaking bozos. How is it? Why should I listen to you? I couldn't find a good reason.
Also, if you ask me, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't even know how to use a cell phone. But the difference is that I have a team and I hire the best. Okay? So business is a team sport. So there's people who, I was a rugby player, that was my sport. And you can't go on a rugby field by yourself, but golfers do. So when I ask somebody, what did you do? They said, well, I play golf. I know they're probably a lone wolf. But you talk to like a soccer player, a rugby player, a basketball player, football player, they're team guys. So the Marine Corps, we fought as teams. When we flew into combat, it wasn't one aircraft by itself. And it was a whole.
One of my favorite things that we ever did in the Navy is pull into Phuket, Thailand. There was an aircraft carrier, an amphib, 2 subs, 3 destroyers, and a couple other smaller ships. It was like we were invading Phuket, Thailand. It was insane how many people. I mean, just on an aircraft carrier, there's 4,000 people, 5,000 people?
It's more than that. Is one battle group. There's 7 aircraft carrier battle groups in America. Each one of those battle groups has more firepower than most countries, like 10 or 20 countries.
Yeah.
They have so much firepower. So I think I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen it. I was calling in airstrikes and all this.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so the first thing that happens is the B-52s come overhead, and I'm calling in the coordinates on the, F-Ford observer for them. The Air Force pounds them, 16 inches pound them. The Army goes in, then the Marine Corps goes in. That's a battle group.
That's crazy.
And then, this is the thing I was still pissed about. We'd watch it on the Walter Cronkite Evening News, and he showed just the atrocities we were doing. I said, you lying sons of a bitches. I'm not blaming Walter Cronkite, he's a good man, but the feed, was fake. I just went nuts.
That's not going to change, though.
Huh?
That's not going to change.
No, I mean, that's why I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. People should listen to you and all this because they're not going to get objective news. You and I talk about the same thing. Take control. We're pretty open about it, but everybody else says, no, be a passive investor. REIT, SLV, GLD, mutual funds, stocks, bonds. And that's crash number 1, are stocks and bonds. My generation's toast. They're going to get wiped out. The boomers, we're toast. We're the first generation with a 401k. And all they have is a house, and the stock market went up, the house went up in value, and it's about to go this way. So there's going to be bargains.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, there's bargains.
You've been watching the hedge funds. It's been interesting over the last few years as this big run up has been happening. The hedge funds came in and they were buying up 1/3, 1/4 of every house, maybe 1/5 of every house in America.
This is after 2008.
Completely obliterating the middle class. And they were really targeting the older generation. And a lot of people sold out. Oh, they're going to overpay for my house? What? This is crazy. And they would come in and they would, pay for the, buy the houses out and turn us into a renter's nation.
Right.
And it was happening right from under our noses. People didn't even understand what was happening. And then you look at big companies, I think it was BlackRock or Blackstone, writing off trillions, never being reported on, like just the financial engineering that was happening behind the scenes. And I think they were doing that because they saw in what was happening with our currency and inflation, because inflation erodes good debt. And they had the cheapest of all debts, right? They had the best, they could borrow the money at the cheapest rates because they were the closest to the source of the money, being on Wall Street. They came in and bought all this real estate. And I just saw an article the other day that they're, one of the, I think it was B of A or Chase, one of them is about to ramp up and buy a ton more real estate again. I found that interesting.
Well, because they don't have to reuse real money.
Yeah.
Fractional reserve, as we were talking about.
Yes.
They just write a check and there's no money there.
But they control, because the way I look at it is they control the real estate. They have the power. They control the vote.
Well, you control a part of life. It's like,
you need shelter. You need food.
yeah. So like I own Wagyu cattle. And they're really, like when I buy oil, I don't buy Chevron or Exxon. I buy the oil. And like I said, when Biden came to office, went from 30 to 130, crushed the middle class. So I was watching that, so I just bought some cattle. And because food goes up. And the thing, I bought the breeding cattle. And because every time the bull has sex, I get part of the deal from the offspring. So talk about a rental unit.
Oh, I never knew that. So if you own
The bull, I sell the semen. I always wanted to be a Japanese breeding bull, but I never was, so I own them now. But it's common sense.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is putting common sense into people's heads because they've been fed such BS at school and the stock market and financial planners and real estate agents even. Oh, don't worry, real estate always goes up.
Yeah, a lot of those agents are going out of business right now.
Yeah. I was at Bank of America on Camelback, and their whole loan department's gone.
Yeah. Mortgage people, they're all, everybody's really hurting right now.
Yeah.
And especially like when interest rates do something simple, like go from 6 to 7, right? 1 point move, 6 to 7. Historically, a 6% interest rate wasn't that bad, but because of the last few years, everybody's on the sidelines right now trying to figure out what to do. Because if you look at the way, at least in real estate, the cheaper houses are getting obliterated right now, and the super duper high end is kind of getting hurt. The interesting, a 1% move to somebody that's buying a $400,000 house, that extra $600 a month, they can't afford it. They're totally screwed. And so they're going to be renters. This is why all these hedge funds are buying so much rental property, because they know this is where inflation's going to erode the value. The interest rates are going to continue to go up. You were around back in the 80s. I mean, it was what, 12, 14, 16% interest rates at one point?
Yeah, I was happy to get 12% interest.
Yeah. And people are losing their minds over 6.5, 7.
Well, there's also differences that our debt to GDP back when I was doing that was about 20%. Today it's 130%. So we're going back. U.S. is bankrupt. And that's why I think Biden is up there playing games in the Ukraine and all that. My biggest concern is World War III. You've seen it. I've seen it. And, Hunter Biden, what a piece of work he is, boy. He was taking money from China, Russia, and the Ukraine. Where are we at war with? China, Russia, Ukraine. And, the Trump boys are my friends. They're class acts, Don Jr. and Eric. They're just great young men. I go hunting and fishing with them, camping. They're just great, solid young men. And this guy, Hunter Biden, he's on drugs with hookers. Going, holy man. I want to say the best thing, there's two things about the Trumps, because I think he's blown his chances for president, and I'm going to still vote for him. But I think they took him down with social media. He was taken down. But when I was with him, I was speaking on stage at Javits Center in New York. There's probably thousands. I don't know how many people were there. And I used the term little people. And the Donald stopped me. This is before he was president. The Donald stopped me and he said, never use the term little people. Treat them with respect. I went, holy mackerel. In front of thousands of people, he chews my ass off. And then I'm with Don Jr. and Eric, and we're up north in northern New York, and we're hunting. And those guys go into the restaurant and they go in the back to say hello to all the probably illegal immigrants. They shake hands, say hello, talk to them and all this. They're real gentlemen, and this guy, so when I watch Hunter Biden, I go, holy mackerel. If that's the product of the father, what is the father doing, So it's just, like father, like son, they say. So I watched that, and our country's in serious trouble. Our leadership's bad.
One of the purposes of this podcast is to push more people into entrepreneurship so they can take back control. So what would your advice be for that new entrepreneur that's just getting started? What are some success principles or things that you would say if they were standing in front of you? Robert, I love you. I read your books. You've inspired me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get into business. I have this idea or whatever. How would you coach them right now or mentor them?
Well, it's a lesson I got when I was 7. I tell this to everybody. I was in Sunday school, which I flunked out of also. I'm so bored in school. But anyway, I'm in Sunday school, and the young Sunday school teacher, she's probably about 20, and I'm about 8 or 9. She goes, what made the 3 wise men wise? And I raised my hand and says, they were rich. And she goes, what? Because I was into money as a kid, right? She goes, why do you say they were rich? I said, well, they had gold, frankincense, and myrrh. You got to be rich to have that stuff, And because, in the Christian church, love of money is the root of all evil. I go, well, maybe for you, but not for me. So she was going to wash my mouth out then. And I said, so what made them wise? And she says, they sought the best teacher. And so I say that to everybody, the YouTube today and all this, the podcasting. There's millions of teachers. Choose them wisely. Look for the best one. So I like, not only do I like what you're saying, I came in your building now, which I'm glad I did, and you practice what you teach. You see, there's a lot of guys out there, as you know, who are real estate guys who are full of it. I won't mention their names, but they come on my radio program. I get into fights with them because they're giving bad advice. I won't mention his name, but this guy says, what you should do is buy an apartment building for about $20 million and then da-da-da-da-da. I'm going, you start with a $20 million apartment? Do you know what I mean?
I think I know who you're talking about.
I know. We know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, and the reason, I know why he does it, because I've been in this business a long time, real estate. These guys go there, they tell you to do these things, make it sound easy, and then you can't do it. So they go, oh, by the way, I happen to have one you can invest into. Oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way, I happen to have a fund.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think that was really important to me, is to practice what I preach. I wanted to be a teacher when I was a little kid.
Oh, good.
A 9th grade history teacher, actually. That was like, and I don't remember the name of any of my teachers except for one. Mr. Safransky. He made an impact on me, and not because of what he taught me, but by the way he treated me, because I had ADD and I was bouncing off the walls and I hated school and I was all over. I wanted to be the teacher. I wanted to run the operation. I didn't care about what they were saying, but he treated me different than everybody else. He understood how to channel that energy into more positive things. And he was the first one that I wasn't in trouble all the time. It was more like, hey man, this is your superpower. Let's learn how to harness this and really dominate with it.
Well, that's a good question. I'll ask sometimes too. Name the number of great teachers in your life.
One. That was in traditional school.
Right.
I've had lots outside of it. Yeah. And that's because, like that advice you just gave of seek out the best. My number one superpower is finding the best at whatever that is, the best marketer, the best email guy, the best operations guy, the best spiritual guy, health person, and not being scared to cut the check to get proximity.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have the money, I was always trying to like, okay, can I serve my way into that circle? Can I buy my way into that circle? Like, what can I do to just get proximity? Because I knew I had to have that knowledge and just, I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not smart enough to invent my own system, but I wanted to be a history teacher. And when I got out of the Navy, first move I made is I went down to San Diego State University and I talked to the history professors, and I left that conversation saying, no freaking way am I going to be a history teacher. Zero chance. First off, they don't make any money and they're all bozos. And I was like,
they think they're smarter than you.
They think they're smarter than everybody. And like you said, I just got that feeling of like, this isn't the path for me. And so when I fell in love with real estate, I finally found my vehicle, because I think it's really important that people get in the right vehicle.
Find their asset they like.
Yes. Yeah. And so when I found real estate, changed my life, loved it, and I went and did it very successfully, but I knew that I had to share it with people.
Right.
And when I've never wrote a book like this yet. I will. I actually bought, 10 years ago, I bought the domain selfmademillionaire.com.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Because your model of the Rich Dad series, I could envision a self-made millionaire series someday.
Good.
When it's time. I'm not ready yet.
Let me give you a compliment here. One of the reasons you're a great teacher is you acknowledge the teacher. So when I come in here, you give me the credit.
Yes.
And a lot of people, especially in me, I have so many guys that I don't even heard of the guy. They said, I taught Robert Kiyosaki. He doesn't know anything. I'm the real rich dad. I'm going, what? I mean, what is wrong with him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're lying. But a lot of times with professors, because poor dad was a professor, they have to be the smartest. And they have to look down upon you. And I think your greatest quality as a teacher is you give credit to other teachers. And for those of you listening in, that's a sign of a great teacher, because that means they have humility. And the problem with a lot of people who are rich or smart or whatever they are, they have to be number one. You don't have to be number one, just be one of the best.
Yeah. I've learned very early on that it doesn't take away from me being great to acknowledge other great people. And I wouldn't be here if great people didn't lock arms with me and help me along my journey. And I was, in the beginning, too proud in the very beginning to ask for help. I learned very quickly through failure, winging it is not a strategy. It's stupid to be out there just trying to learn from, I want to learn from successes too, not a bunch of failures. So I was like, man,
You're a great teacher. You're a great teacher.
Thank you, Robert. That means a ton coming from you.
Another thing too, I walked in this building going, holy mackerel. Not only this guy, he practices what he preached, but he knows what he's talking about. When you were giving me how your tax structure and all this stuff, I'm going, I got it,
Yeah.
But we speak the same language also.
Well, I'm a teacher, but I'm also a very voracious student.
Yep.
Never stop self-learning, never stop self-educating. I've read all of your books. I love them. I've got them highlighted. You've signed a couple for me, which I have in my office. I share. People come in, Robert signed my book. Check this out. So I always thought.
May I give a plug too? Rich Dad Poor Dad was turned down by every publisher in New York, right? So you know what you're talking about. And just yesterday, Publishers Weekly, which is the Bible for the book industry, Rich Dad Poor Dad is still number one across the world in personal finance. 26 years this year.
41, 42 million copies. That's insane.
Way beyond that now.
It is?
I think this month I'll sell 1,000,001 copies.
It's still flying off. I mean,
talk about cash flow.
If you go on to like Apple, like audiobooks or Apple Books, it's the number one recommended book.
Wow.
In the financial and the entrepreneur section.
And the thing that makes me the happiest, I didn't do it to show how smart I am. I did it because, same as you, I went to teach. And I'm concerned. Like I said, this is trash. But they tell you, go to school and work for this to save this. Oh, you got to be kidding me. And they're printing trillions of it. I think we printed more money in the last 2 years than we did the last 40 years or something. 40 years, 46 years this year. 41, 42 million copies. That's insane. Way beyond that now. It is? I think this month I'll sell 1,001 copies. 41, 42 million copies. That's insane. 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 41, 42 And people still trying to save that stuff. This is toilet paper. But they don't know. They're so attached to it. Or they buy stocks. I'm going. And Buffett just says he doesn't trust the CEOs and CFOs. They're lying. So that's why you and I are control freaks. So all of you out there who want to be control freaks, listen to the show.
Right.
Because he knows, I can see he knows what he's talking about.
Well, they need to give me 5-star reviews. That's what they need to do right now. They need to go and hook brother up with some good positive reviews for this podcast so I can get more guys like Robert Kiyosaki on the show. With all this money, how do you make your money matter?
What's that?
How do you make your money matter? Like, what's important to you? Like, are you charitable? Are you quiet about your charity? Because one of the purposes of this show is not just making money and multiplying money and living tax-free and all that stuff, but it's also how do we make an impact? Is your biggest impact from your view education? Or is it like, hey man, I take a lot of my money quietly and I'm doing these charitable things? Are you like, screw charity, I don't even touch that stuff?
Well, I donate to charities a lot, but my wife and I have a plan is that we're going to roll it all into one big foundation, And so when we're both gone, it'll continue on with our mission. So all the money goes in there, plus it's tax-free at that point.
It's a power move.
Yeah. So we give all our money back, and it goes on to.
You don't want to give it all to the government and a big death tax or something like that?
No, can't wait.
Yeah. And that foundation's purpose will be what? Continuing financial education?
The same. Yeah. And
just keep the legacy going.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that's what money's for, right?
Yeah.
So money is just lifeblood. It's energy. So when I was at the academy in New York, they said oil is the lifeblood of civilization. So when Biden cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, he cut the lifeblood to civilization. He's a criminal. And it's not what he's saying, it's what he's doing. So anyway, that's why, again, words and all this stuff, it's not what you're saying, I'm watching what you're doing. And so when I came in here today, I said, I like what you're doing. I know what you're talking about.
Well, you started off saying that, and we're ending saying that. So that's a good thought for people to leave on, because it doesn't matter who you vote for. Pay attention to what they're doing, not what they're saying. I think that's important. And most important thing for my 2 cents on that, Robert, is I can't control politicians. I can't control prices or the economy or the weather. I can't control a lot of things, but I can control my household.
But you can control this and what you do with it.
And what I do with it in my household. And you said a couple things here that really resonated with me. First off, I got 2 young kids. It's important for me, for them to have positive inputs in their brain, in their mindset, in their thoughts. I choose my words very carefully around them.
Right.
I don't say the word problem. I say challenge. Hey, we have a challenge. I don't say we can't afford that. I say, how can we make this happen? What creative thing can we do to create the money? And a lot of that came from the financial intelligence that you started this train, and many people have picked up on. And so thank you for that.
I also always say the professors can't say they don't know something. It's a trap because they have to be the smartest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing, and how can we support you or give back? Is there anything that the listeners can do that Robert needs at this point in his life, or where can they go to support you?
No, it's the thing that makes me the happiest is, like you said, your father gave me the book. And I hear that more and more and more from young guys, because they say, my father gave, my mother gave, my teacher gave me the book, and stuff like that. So that makes me, that's the greatest joy I have.
So go get a couple copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and hand it out to people that are important to you.
If you want to. I don't like to tell people what to do.
I'm telling them.
That's what
I'm here for. Go get 10 copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad right now. Robert's really kind of sucking right now at book sales. We need to help him out. He can't be doing 1 million in a month. We need to be doing 2 million in a month. So go get 10 copies and hand it out to some people. And I think that, what a great gift to somebody who doesn't hasn't been exposed to that type of success language. I think having a positive relationship with money changes your life.
Correct. And that's the greatest joy I have today, because money got easy. It's hard at first, but it got easier and easier. So now it's easy, but the greatest joy is people come like you coming up. My father gave me your book.
Yeah. People, it trips me out that people are upset at Trump for not wanting to pay taxes. And I'm like, that's the whole goal. Why would I want to give money away to somebody who doesn't know how to spend it?
Let me quote something what Marx says. A progressive, so the income tax is, income tax is essential for the spread of communism. And America was founded as a tax-free nation. It was called 1773, the Boston Tea Party. And ever since then, taxes kept coming back in. And now I don't trust my government because they just misspend it.
Yeah, which is why I love real estate.
Yeah.
And when you walked in here, my first brag to you was, I bought this building, and just because of this building, I wiped out a few $1 million in taxes. And you went, that's my guy.
I can see, touch, and feel it. But you use the words of a professional real estate investor. I forget what you're talking about. The
cost seg and bonus depreciation. And well, this is my life, and I absolutely love it. And I want to inspire more people to learn more about it. So
I'm happy I came because I know you're a real teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's end this thing strong, Robert. First off, thank you for coming. But I want to two things. One,
I'm happy I did come because I went, holy mackerel, because there's so many bullshit artists on the web, on the YouTube.
Oh yeah,
like our friend.
Well, it's they're being rewarded because what they're saying is resonating. But everything will play itself out.
Yeah,
it always does. If you could go back to Robert, young Robert, what advice would you give, knowing you were about to take this journey, you were going to stumble into this best-selling book, you were going to go on this whirlwind of a life, buying gold mines, silver mines, impacting tens of millions of people, speaking on stages all across the world, doing things with the Trumps, like just big things. What would you go back to younger Robert? What advice would you give him?
Well, I'll tell you that advice my rich dad gave me. And, he wasn't a very religious man, but he says, from, I think the book is Matthew or something. I'm not really religious either. He goes, and the word became flesh. And so he says, you got to watch the words you use. So one of the exercises my rich dad had me do when I was 10 was, because he owned a lot of property, low income, which drove my poor dad nuts. He said, you're exploiting people, But a lot of the guys were back in rent. So he had his son and me, rich dad did, go and collect rent. And when we came back from it, that was a painful exercise. Trump told me he did the same thing. His father had him go collect rent. And you hear so much bullshit. You hear every lame excuse, this, that. And so Rich Dad was sitting in his office. We used to play Monopoly to teach me. And he goes, so what did you learn? I said, the words I heard from those people not paying rent are the same words I hear from my father. And so one of the things my rich dad forbid me from doing is use the word I can't, the words I can't. He says, the moment you see you can't, your brain shuts off. So the reason I have so much is I don't say I can't. You want to buy this gold mine? I said, oh, how can I do it? So I took that gold mine public on the New York Stock Exchange in July of 2022. But if I had said, oh, I can't do that, it's beyond me, I'd never have done it. So the message I'll pass on to everybody is the same message lesson my rich dad told me, is be careful to choose your words wisely, choose your teachers wisely. But the most destructive words are, I can't.
I love that. That's amazing. All right, listen, guys, I couldn't have been more honored to have the great Robert Kiyosaki on the show. If you got something from this show, make sure you share it with somebody else so they can learn some of this stuff. Go buy a couple copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, hand it out to some friends. And, hook me up with a 5-star review. If you like amazing guests like this, Robert came on this show as a, just me calling him up and just saying, hey, I'd be honored to have you on the show. He came on because he knew we were putting out super high quality content for you guys. So let's keep that ball going. I want to get more amazing guests like Robert on the show. So hit me up with a 5-star review. And until next time, we're out of here. Take care. Comb your hair. Peace. Hey, thanks for being a subscriber of the Clever Investor Show. As a thank you gift, we wanted to give you something that we know is going to help you get started as a creative real estate investor. It's our Real Estate Success Kit, and it's completely free. Just go to www.reisuccesskit.com to customize your kit, but essentially it's a collection of 15 training tools designed to help you get results quickly as a creative real estate investor. From systems to lead generation to finding cash buyers to creative ways to close deals and get paid. Your free REI Success Kit is just a few clicks away. Once again, the website's www.reisuccesskit.com.